Welcome back, folks. It's another great day here on Valiant Renegade. Make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell. Share this sucker out on the social medias. And do leave a comment before you head out today. Because this is where Hollywood comes to get put through the business and financial lens of reality. It's time. Renegade Online. Good evening, everyone. It is another episode of Good to be back here on the Renegade Nation. Good to see everybody out there once again. And if you are like one of the many that might be watching this live show that aren't yet subscribed, hey, do it. It's fun. I promise. Sometimes. Now, welcome aboard. Good to see everybody out there. We've got a lot to go through. I had hoped to do this show a couple of nights ago, as I told y'all on Sunday when we did one. And it has been a string of goofy, bad events. I won't rehash what we did on the main channel tonight on Valiant Renegade, covering the box office, a lot of Hollywood stuff out there. Some of it that is going to spill over into this show tonight for good reason, because this is where we do more of the hard current events, hard politics out there. There was a number of stories that I kind of wanted to hit this week, and I think some of them will be well hit here. And at the last minute, about an hour ago, I decided, you know what? We're going to talk about this whole William McNeil situation. If you don't know who it is this guy that released his own personal cell phone video of cops smashing his car window in, palm strike, not punching him. He got palm struck in the face, dragging him out and arresting him because, well, he said it was, I didn't do nothing. Yeah, as it turns out, 99.9% of the time, you did something. And you did. So we're going to cover that as well, because that's going around the internet right now. And like I said, when I first saw the video that he released before the police responded to it, my initial reaction, having seen a number of these types of, let's just call them scams over the years, was, yeah, wait, there'll be more. There's always more. Always more. Been one of the biggest problems of the Black Lives Matter scam for the last several years is police body cam video. That's why that movement has overwhelmingly died, because they can't scam anymore like they used to. Because the truth actually is on video now. I think every officer in the nation is carrying a police body cam nowadays for that very reason. We'll get to that a little bit later. But one of the things I want to discuss first in this show, and good to see everybody out there in the chat. We've got about 100 of y'all watching out there on YouTube and about another 50 of y'all watching on X as we get started. Thanks for being here. Again, it's an off night, kind of a weird time. I've got to get back to trying to schedule some regularity on this channel. It's been a rough ride the last couple of months. Just so much going on that has kept me away. But trying to get back into it a little bit more routinely. I've got to have a conversation with Ron. I know Ron wants to be a part of this, and I just didn't have a chance to reach out. We've had so much going on this week. Too many, like, just personal life things happening. I've told you all some of the stories between my daughter's car getting broken into over the weekend, last weekend. Had a bunch of cash stolen out of the car that she foolishly left in there, but it's a, college kid mistake. The dishwasher broke. the kitchen got infested with an army of ants. And then last night, my wife's business flooded from the ceiling down in one of the most sensitive areas of the business where all the computer and equipment were. It's been a mess. It's been an absolute mess. I'm like, what is going on this week? Is everybody else? It seems to be a bad week, right? We got Malcolm Jamal Warner that passed away. Ozzy Osbourne passed away. Hulk Hogan died today. And then I think Mangione died today. I'm like, what is going on? This is just a really, really weird week. So I'm happy to be back here to cover some of these stories tonight. So I want to kind of dive into it. Let's just roll out with this because there's no saving anything anymore. It's just, I think everything's a clown show this week. It truly is. But I'm glad y'all are here. We're going to have some fun with this. We're definitely going to have some fun with this one. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Share it out. We are still trying to build this channel. 1 second. I saw something else on X that might be worthy of discussion. Please like and share out the live show tonight as we get into this. I'm trying to scroll back here. I want to find the. I thought I had this. I navigated away from it right before we started. Of course I did because, kind of stupid like that. Yeah, I lost my Colbert clip that I had. I thought I had it ready to go. Oh wait, here it is. Let's do this. Let's just go ahead with this to get everybody warmed up, right? Colbert, we talked about this on the main show tonight. Stephen Colbert, let's be honest. The man has self-destructed over the years. Very, very much self-destructed. And played a clip earlier of a montage on the main channel here. And this was his response. After CBS decided, and of course Skydance, who completed the hurdle of the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC today, by promising that, hey, we're going to make our news organization respectable again. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what was said. And also committing to the fact that, oh no, we don't have a DEI department at Skydance. We don't plan on having one any longer at Paramount CBS. This ruffled some feathers, to be sure, including that of the Hawaiian hippo, Crazy Maisie Hirano. And we got some clips from her as well, who got absolutely smoked in some congressional testimony earlier today. But Stephen Colbert's response to all of this, to the whole David Ellison thing, who I'm sure he personally despises, and his response to Paramount CBS making a very wise and judicious financial decision to terminate Stephen Colbert and the late night show because it was a huge loser. According to Puck Magazine, losing on the order of $40+ million a year for this show. Probably the entire $40 million may have very well been Stephen Colbert's salary. And this is the problem. Stephen Colbert, even though, and I want everybody to listen very carefully to what I'm about to say, okay? Stephen Colbert, even though he is a middle-aged white man, is somebody who I would classify as, if not a higher, but at this point, at least for the last several years, a retention a DEI retention. That's right. Valiant Renegade is claiming that Stephen Colbert is a diversity, equity, and inclusion retention. No, I'm not crazy. Let me explain. DEI, in my opinion, has not just been an issue of skin color or sexual orientation or gender dysphoria, a psychiatric disorder. It has also been an issue of sacrificing and losing money in a corporation like Paramount and CBS for the sake of hanging on to somebody who is, in this case, merely politically aligned with the Hollywood elitists, the left, the Beltway types in D.C., the deep state, whatever you want to call it, right? The Marxist left. There is no, and there has not been for quite some time, any reason for Stephen Colbert to still exist. There is no, I promise you, economic reason for Jimmy Kimmel to still exist. There's no economic reason for most of these late-night ass clowns to still exist. They're all cut largely from the same cloth. They're all very much Hollywood elitist leftists. They are very disconnected from the country. But diversity, equity, and inclusion, part of what's going on in DEI, is and has been for guys like Colbert, who at least still have his white privilege. Yeah, I just said that. At least still have his white privilege long enough to have hung on to this bullshit job and this bullshit show for as many years as he has while continuing to fail. As I've called him before, Stephen Colbert is the biggest piece of corn in the pile of poo. That's it. He is the freshest cow pie on the pasture floor. It's very, very simple. He doesn't belong there. None of these guys belong there because they all lose money. They all lose money. If Stephen Colbert, according to Puck Magazine, is losing $40 million a year, imagine what Jimmy Kimmel is losing that has several 100,000 less than the less than 2 million viewers on average each night that Stephen Colbert pulls in. Greg Gutfeld on Fox News doesn't have this problem because not only does he have more of an audience on average every night than Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel, and Jimmy Fallon combined, but he also has a much bigger piece of the key demographic for advertisers, the 25 to 55-year-old crowd. They're not watching these guys on over-the-air broadcast television. They're watching Gutfeld. Or they're watching something else, no late night at all. But if anybody on late night is winning, it's Greg Gutfeld. So you have to imagine, when you're coming in as David Ellison and the Skydance people, and you're looking at this idiot here, who not only is losing a metric shit ton of money for the company that you just bought, but at the same time is running his mouth on a nightly basis that is likely going to cause yet another legal entanglement, whether you like it or agree with it or not. This is a really simple decision. Stephen Colbert does not have the ear of the country. Stephen Colbert does not speak for the American people outside of shitholes like Los Angeles and New York City and other little dumpster fires that are like them. But beyond those two major markets, it's really not much. So you get rid of him. But what is Stephen Colbert's response? Because Skydance Media did not want to terminate his contract early simply for the matter of, well, we'd have to pay him out probably another $20 million for a year that he wouldn't even be here. Maybe letting Stephen Colbert hang himself is just enough to where he will terminate himself for cause. Kind of thinking maybe that's what David Ellison has in his back pocket, because here's Stephen Colbert's response to the whole thing.
Those numbers, I got to say, it makes sense we'd be canceled. I get it, guys. And thanks again, okay? Thanks again to the network. In a completely unrelated story, on Friday, Donald Trump posted, "I absolutely love that Colbert got fired. His talent was even less than his ratings." How dare you, sir? Would an untalented man be able to compose the following satirical witticism? Go f yourself.
Now, of course, the audience is cheering because the audience is stacked with sycophants and retards, short bus people that love it. The few fans that he actually really has. No surprise there. The problem with liberals is always the same thing. The problem with the left is always the same thing. They think they're funny when they're not. You know, there's been a joke running on the internet now for as far back as I can remember, for the modern social media era. The left can't meme. The left can't tell jokes either. And if anything out there gave us the entry point to this new modern era of the left can't tell jokes and the left isn't funny, I think America really woke up to it with Ghostbusters 2016. Honestly, that was kind of the launching point where everything went, no pun intended, left. Everything went sour. And Stephen Colbert is an old Marxist dinosaur. And he's frustrated right now. I'd love to say that part of me feels bad for Stephen Colbert. But there's no part of me that actually feels bad for Stephen Colbert. This is something that he has made by his own design. He has turned himself into an irrelevant, old, dried-up turd. He was a turd to begin with, but now he's an old, dried-up turd that is nothing but a drain on a new endeavor in Hollywood. And like we covered earlier, again, the chairman of the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, Brendan Carr, who just cleared the hurdle for the merger today, just moments before we started the show on the main channel at 6 p.m. Eastern tonight, had a lot of very positive, glowing things to say about the new ownership, and hoping that CBS now, with new leadership, would be able to restore itself to its traditional glory. We'll see. A lot of people are wondering, is this going to give us a new era of media? It could. It could. It's not set yet. It could. We'll have to see. But I think there's a lot of things to be enthusiastic about from that perspective. I really do. I genuinely do. Grab a couple of super chats here that came in early. Tennessee Tornado said, "Truth, Justice, and Sydney Sweeney." Yes, indeed. The new spokesmodel for American Eagle. Another rejection now of diversity, equity, and inclusion that we talked about on the show earlier on the main channel. I hope that the whole Sydney Sweeney thing is really going to be looked back in history as the first punch in the opening salvo of, eradicating some of the really retarded woke bullshit that has come before. And let me pull up what I mean by that, just so everybody can see. For the folks that had not seen it on this, I got to scroll back up. I had it saved in a different section on my Twitter feed. But just to put it in context, because I think that's a great way to start the show. Well, did I lose it? Good Lord. All right, X just went whack on me. Oh, wait, here it is. All right. This is what we were talking about. This is what we were talking about, to Tornado's point. All right, so when it comes to the destruction of woke, right? American Eagle advertisements, 2019 versus 2025. I'll let the audience figure out which one is which. There was a time here when we allowed the left to come in and to start controlling and gaslighting society. This is not happening anymore. We're done with the bullshit. It's not happening. Nobody wants to see a fat-assed, misshapen, morbidly obese woman with purple hair being the spokesmodel for a clothing line. This is why the 80s and the 90s were vastly superior to today. It is demonstrable. It's ridiculous. This is why Hollywood used to rely on beautiful, attractive, sexy women to sell shit. Is it any wonder that clothing lines like American Eagle have had financial collapses in the last 5 years? And now somebody got in there and decided, you know what? We've been completely conned. All of these diversity, equity, and inclusion hires and departments and all of these gender studies, black studies, women's studies majors that we hired to run our marketing department have fucked us into oblivion. Maybe we just need to actually go out and hire and spend a lot of money to do it, because Sydney Sweeney don't come cheap, to sell our brand. And let's be honest, and I don't mean this to be in a crass manner, but I'm going to call it what it is. Sex sells. And there is virtually no portion of the population that wants to have sex with the thing on the right. But there is a significant amount of the population that would love to bag the chick on the left. I'm just giving you financial and economic honesty. That's what we do here. Sydney Sweeney is the sex that sells. The hippo on the right with the purple hair that has a blood type of chocolate pudding doesn't. But 6 years ago, that's what American Eagle thought America wanted. And that's why the company got fucked up. Simple as that. How many people in the audience right now think that American Eagle is probably going to start selling a lot more stuff in the next 12 to 24 months than they have in the last 5 years. Raise your hand. I mean, yeah. It's very, very simple. Just like Stephen Colbert is essentially a DEI retention, what you see here is the difference between your brain on DEI and your brain not on DEI. And I'll be abundantly clear. It's got nothing to do with the fact that the hippo on the right is black. It's not. This could have been a white hippo with purple hair. God knows in American culture these days, especially American leftist culture, there is an abundance of white hippos with purple hair. Shit, I'm actually surprised she doesn't have a nose ring in. Right? Everybody would have said the same comment if she was white. I would have. I guarantee you. And there's been plenty of these kind of ads that have had fat white girls. But I didn't make this post on X. This was End Wokeness that made this post. But it's an extremely good post. It gives you a perfect dichotomy, a perfect visual example of the split between then and now. Fat isn't healthy. Morbidly obese isn't healthy. Morbidly obese doesn't sell clothing. Unless you're running a Lane Bryant outlet. I'm sorry. Dress Barn. I don't know. People, men and women, both aspire to be better than they are. 10 years ago, I was in a lot better physical shape. I was training almost every day. I was in my mid-30s. I was a much younger man back then. My kids were younger. I was in the prime, right? We all get older. I'm not in near as good a shape today as I was 10 years ago. I don't think morbidly obese, but I could stand to lose easily 20 pounds. No lie. Here's the deal. Even as an old, white, straight, heterosexual Catholic man, I'd rather, if you're going to sell me something, give me something aspirational. I don't want to see a 45 or 50-year-old overweight, especially morbidly obese, white dude in a shirt or a pair of shorts. I'm not going to look at that in a catalog and go, oh, that looks good. No. People naturally gravitate towards beauty. People naturally gravitate towards what looks good. This is why woke and DEI is completely screwed at this point in time. Finally, we have the veil coming off. We have the gloves coming off. We have corporate America realizing that, you know what? Maybe that 2020 election really was a fluke. And I'm not saying that flippantly. I'm not saying that as, just my opinion. I think it's verifiable at this point. This is the way they're looking at things, right? Because the whole issue in 2020, and this is bizarre, that politics is connected to fashion. It is. It actually is. This on the screen right here is proof positive of it. Hear me out. The whole idea in 2020 when Joe Biden got elected was that the MAGA America, right? People that were viewed as old, quote unquote, racist white men, because nobody else voted for Trump but old, racist white men, right? Right? They were rejected. Joe Biden was in, and the whole movement of traditional, how do I want to put this? Logic. How about logic? How about common sense and logic was, oh no, that was rejected. You see, what people really want, if you want to expand the audience, if you really want to make people feel good, is that you take folks like purple hair on the right there, because that's going to make people feel better about themselves. And while I understand there's probably a few people out there that may feel like that, the problem is the overwhelming majority of the customers, the people with the disposable income to buy products from companies like American Eagle, didn't care for it. And the proof is in the revenue streams, the cash flows, the profitability, the EBITDA. Didn't work out. So now they've gone to Sydney Sweeney. Fun stuff. This is how DEI is dying. One rational business decision at a time based on sensibility, common sense, judicious financial decisions, economics, and a desire to actually get back to making money. Most people out there are colorblind when it comes to beauty. Give them something attractive to look at. America doesn't want to look at hippos. Selling them clothing products, especially. It's insane. Ay. All right, we got a bunch of stories to go through. Thank you, Tennessee Tornado. You elicited quite the reaction there. Marcus Quintus for $5. Rest in peace, Hulk Hogan and Ozzy, both of whom gave themselves to Christ in their later years. Both will be missed a lot. Yeah, you know, a lot of people, I've seen people kind of ragging on Ozzy over this, and I'm like, look, I might be wrong, but Ozzy, that man was all show. The whole thing with the evil devil stuff when he was on stage, and we can have a debate about whether that was appropriate or not, but that was that style of music. That was his show. I don't think the man himself was ever like that in real life. I don't think there was anything to indicate that in real life. There might have been a few things way back in the day, but Ozzy was a showman, and that was just the show he chose. And we can debate whether that was an appropriate kind of show to put on, but the issue becomes, was Ozzy really, a devil worshiper or something like this? I don't think so. I personally don't think so. I could be wrong, but I personally don't think he ever was. Snarky says for 2, potty mouth, political pouncing. Let's get some. Fuck yeah. Marcus Quintus for 5. At least I wouldn't have had to replace my shocks and struts on my Explorer if I take the hot lady out. Not sure if the other fits in the rear hatch. Just saying. Damn right, Marcus. I've got a 2019 Explorer. I'm actually getting a new one in a few months. I'm finally kind of getting the car I've always wanted. If Like, I've never bought myself my quote unquote ideal car. But I finally started putting one together with Ford for that. It's not, anything crazy, stupid crazy, but yeah. I love my Ford products. Really do. Marcus for 5, give us something worth going to confession over, if only to brag to our priest. Just saying. Well, you got Sydney. All right. Let's see. I need a quick second here. Let's see. Everybody's out of the house. It is storming outside, and my dogs they're going a little nuts. I need like 30 seconds. Hang tight. Let's see. What do I want to give you here? I need a bit of a do that one again. I have not played this one in a while. For anybody out there who is OCD, this might hurt. I'll be right back in 1 minute.
This is a square. Can you guess which spot that goes in?
The square.
That's right. It goes in the square hole.
Yes. Okay.
And how about this rectangle? That one
Also the square.
that goes in there too.
Yeah.
Up next, we've got this thin rectangle.
The thin
Can you guess
rectangle.
where that goes?
The thin rectangle.
That's right. It goes in the square hole. And up next, a cylinder.
The circle.
I think that goes in
The circle.
the square hole. Now, we've also got this semicircle right here. Do you see a slot that would fit
The semicircle.
semicircle?
The semicircle.
That's right. It's the square hole. Okay. Up next, the triangle. We know what hole that goes
The
into,
triangle.
right?
Triangle.
That's right. The square hole. And up next, we have the arch.
The arch. Arch.
You guessed it.
The arch.
It goes in the square hole.
It's been a while since I ran that one. All right. I didn't expect to spend so much time talking about Sydney Sweeney and the fat hippo with the purple hair. But speaking of hippos, we've still got crazy Maisie Hirano from Hawaii, the Hawaiian hippo, to get to later. Before we do, I do want to kind of cover getting back to the Colbert thing. This was an article that I saved for this show because it's kind of fun to watch some of the left meltdown over there. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot more. I think this is one of the things that the left media, the Access Hollywood types out there, this is what they are really desperately afraid of in the next several years. And Salon.com, who is a hard leftist organization out there, whining like a bunch of little bitches out there about Stephen Colbert. And of course, again, this comes down to money. This comes down to making a rational financial and legal decision for this show, for the future of CBS and Paramount, to not be put into the same conversation as MSNBC and Disney, for God's sake, any longer, right? That's all part of it. That really is a big, big part of it. And they're trying to get out of this. So this is what these folks out there on the left are really whining about. Stephen Colbert's firing is a test of free expression. If a comedian can't make jokes about the president and corporations, who can? First of all, let me go ahead and disagree with the fact that Stephen Colbert is a comedian. Comedians by nature, by definition, have to be funny. He's not funny. That's part of the problem. And most of America seems to agree, unfortunately for Salon. The White House Correspondents Association is an annual dinner. One of the most cringe is one of the most cringe institutions in D.C., fatuously known as Nerd Prom. The event, with its red carpets and celebrity guests, is a relic of a time when the press and the political establishment could pretend the country wasn't descending rapidly into total dysfunction. By 2006, you notice how you can see where this is going. It's always the Republicans. By 2006, with the country mired in the Iraq and Afghanistan wars and Americans souring on Bush, The ceremony had already outlived its dubious rationale. But the time was ripe for an epic roast of establishment journalism and politics. Enter Stephen Colbert. The comedian was already establishing himself as one of the master parodists of our time. On his nightly comedy central show, The Colbert Report, he had perfected the character of a right-wing pundit, modeled on then Fox News star Bill O'Reilly, that skewered Republicans. The conservative press and the Bush administration. At that year's White House Correspondents Association dinner, appearing in the guise of his alter ego, Colbert did it right to their faces. While it caused a stir with some commentary suggesting he had perhaps gone too far, nobody sued anyone or had a public tantrum. Notice how Salon immediately brings in the lawsuit aspect. Remember, Donald Trump sued CBS because he felt, and his legal team felt, and I would agree, I think they righteously felt, that CBS had deliberately engaged in a gaslighting manipulation of the American public when they elected to conduct an interview with Donald Trump's opponent, who was never in the lead, by the way, Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, who, of course, has the IQ of a jar of mayonnaise and a baby rattle, who cannot string two sentences together. Kamala Harris. Yeah, that Kamala Harris. Sorry, I had the headphones out. Stupid ass. So that Kamala Harris, right? 60 Minutes gave her an interview, and then they edited it and they doctored it so badly as to make the final product look nothing, and I mean nothing like what the original interview came across as. When people saw the unedited version of that interview, America was horrified at what 60 Minutes and CBS had done. It was an absolute defrauding of the American public. And Donald Trump, I think, was right to go in and make a legal challenge against this by saying what you at CBS effectively did was give Kamala Harris a free 1 hour television commercial to an audience of tens of millions of people. What is the value of that? And they calculated, well, how many 15-second or 30-second commercials on a national scale with this and that, and they came up with a radical figure. A lot of people out there think it was ridiculous. I actually happen to think that I loved it. I loved it. I don't know if the lawsuit would have ever proceeded anywhere far down the road without a settlement. I think it was always going to be settled, but I loved the legal challenge aspect of it. Of course, nobody on the left did, even though it was blatantly obvious what CBS had done, even though it was overwhelmingly apparent that they had committed an act of absolute, unassailable fraud on the American people, in my opinion. Donald Trump wound up winning. And it suddenly became a huge problem. CBS did that thinking that if we do this, Kamala could actually maybe pull it off. They actually believed their own bullshit polling. And that was the biggest problem. That's always the biggest problem with the media, is that they have reached a point now, after 40 years of committing fraud and lies and deceit, especially when it comes to anybody with an R behind their name, that they are now at the stage where they have been long believing, probably for at least 10 to 15 years, all of their own bullshit. The media no longer has its little safe space.
Bulletproof windows. Troll safe doors. My safe space. How's that?
What would you say you do here?
Nothing, because it's all gone. The whole safe space aspect is now gone. And the media is very, very nervous right now because what you have on the screen is just a small microcosm. Stephen Colbert is a microcosm of media failure. It is a microcosm, and I don't mean that just strictly from a social perspective. I don't mean that strictly from a ratings perspective, but it has long been a well-known fact that news divisions, especially national news, have always been, at least for the last 30 years, financial losers for the networks they're attached to. If you don't believe me, go back and look up. You could probably still Google this and find it. I'm telling you, 30 years ago, Rush Limbaugh was talking about in the mid to late 90s into the 2000s how, he had talked to a friend of his and found out that, these news organizations, the nightly news, and we're talking back in the days of the Ted Koppels, the Dan Rathers, what was his name on NBC? He talked like this, and I can't remember his name right now. It suddenly blanked out. Anyway, most of those newsrooms, those nightly newses, were just money drains on these organizations. But they argued, especially the anchors of these shows. Tom Brokaw, thank you, chat. Thank you, Red Oranges. Tom Brokaw, thank you. It's Tom Brokaw tonight on NBC. Sorry, that was a little too much Sean Connery. Pushy galore. I must be dreaming. Tom Brokaw. Yeah. I mean, all these guys would try to defend their ridiculous paychecks, even though the NBC, ABC, CBS were losing money on these guys. Peter Jennings, there was another one. Peter Jennings, a total piece of shit. Absolute piece of shit. Because of the prestige, right? The prestige of these nightly news organizations. Late night television, and this is the point, late night television in 2025, okay, these guys, they are now the Peter Jennings, the Tom Brokaws, the Dan Rathers, the so-ons and so forths of the mid to late 90s and into the early 2000s. They are the financial drain of epic proportions on these over-the-air broadcast networks that the FCC still gets to regulate. They are the financial drains on these networks that are desperately trying to justify their own existence when there is absolutely no financial or economic reason for them to. If Rush was still here today, I guarantee you he would be having this same conversation. And I don't get to listen to Rush's new show every day. Maybe I need to go back and start listening again. I do love Clay Travis. He does crack me up. I think he does a good job. I think he and Buck Sexton, when I do have a chance to listen to them in the car during the day, when I'm driving around between meeting clients and appointments or something like that, they're great. But I bet you Rush would be saying the same thing today, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if somebody said in the chat, well, Valiant, it's funny, Clay and Buck just made that comment 2 days ago. Rush would recognize this. I grew up with Rush, right? Y'all know this. I've talked about this before. It's I'm sorry. I just happened to glance at the chat. One of our best buddies out there. Renegade Nation. Don't forget. Wait, let me do it this way. Let me do it this way. If y'all get this joke, I obviously Marcus is going to get this. I'll take the penis might here. The what? I'll take the penis might here. That's the pen is mightier. Gushy it up any way you want, Trebek. Will it mighty my penis? Saturday Night Live, one of the greatest sketches they ever did, with Sean Connery on Jeopardy. Will Ferrell, as much as he annoys me a lot of times, has done some really great stuff. Will Ferrell playing Alex Trebek. Norm Macdonald, the great Norm Macdonald, playing Turd Ferguson. Burt Reynolds. And was it Colin? Not Colin. Was it? No, it was Colin. Yeah, it was Colin Farrell. Was it Colin Farrell who was playing Sean Connery out there? Oh, God. I miss the days when Saturday Night Live was actually funny. He does belong in the Hall of Fame. But back to this, is that, these guys aren't funny anymore. That's the problem. These guys are not funny anymore. I wish they were. I miss the days. I grew up on Johnny Carson. And David Letterman, too. And remember, Stephen Colbert has taken over for Letterman. But he can't hold a candle to Letterman. David Letterman would get political. David Letterman would do his thing. Everybody knew David Letterman was a lib, right? The thing is that back in those days, is that those guys like Letterman, even as a lib, when they did things, it was funny. It wasn't cringe. That's the big difference. Sorry for the ad pop up there. Let's go down and continue the whining and the gnashing of teeth of Salon. Or Slate. Is it? Oh, no, it is Salon. I said Slate earlier, didn't I? Slate's another one that's a shitty magazine. This is Salon. It's a different piece of liberal toilet paper. I'm sorry. I can't keep up with the different. They all look the same to me. They're thin, they have no soul, and they're covered in shit. It's toilet paper. I can't tell the difference. It's hard to know which would be worse if Trump demanded that Colbert be fired and they agreed to do it, or if they fired him as a little gesture of goodwill to please the president. Either way, this is horrific, says Salon. But it's also par for the course these days as one institution after another caves to the most serious threat to free speech since the Red Scare of the 1950s. I love how Salon uses the Red Scare of the 1950s as an adjacent to this. Because that's back in the day when you had the McCarthy sort of era where they were trying to oust communism from this country. That's hilarious because Salon is basically admitting that they, and I guess by extension, Stephen Colbert, are fucking communists. I mean, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I've always been a fan of the expression that, you know what? We need a little bit more Joe McCarthy today. Because, yes, there are elements in this country that are nefarious, that do actually want to destroy this country. And they are the communist socialist left. This is an example of it. I remember back in the 90s as a kid in high school And I was very politically cognizant back then, paying attention. I started listening and watching news at a very young age, political commentary shows like Limbaugh, his TV show back in the early 90s included. And I remember having the conversation back then. And I remember in, I think it was 2000. Yeah, it was 2000. It was during W's first election cycle. And I made a comment to a local TV reporter. And I said, you know, this is going to come down to a matter of, do we want to have an America that we recognize, or do we want to have socialism? Because that's what, and this might have been 04. I think it was 04, because I think it was about John Kerry. And I said, do we want to have the kind of socialism that John Kerry wants to bring us? My clip never made the news. The little news reporter didn't know what to do with that. Because back then, calling a leftist a socialist, they gaffed at it, right? They told us that, oh, that's ridiculous. No, we're not socialists. We're progressives. We're Democrats, blah, blah, blah. Now, look at how for the last 5 to 10 years, how comfortable the left has become adopting openly, calling themselves socialists. The goalposts always move, do they not? They always move, especially left. I guarantee you, it's not even going to take that long. By the time we reach 2030, by the time we reach 2027, going into the next presidential election cycle of 28, I almost guarantee you that the word communist will have become commonplace. And the media, the legacy media, will try to make it a comfortable word to use to describe Democrats. It's already underway. It's been underway. The gaslighting is not going to stop. This is why people on the left, people like Salon.com here, are so upset, is because this drive in this direction is getting derailed. And it's really not just about Donald Trump. And that's what people need to understand. And this is what the media doesn't understand. The media is complaining today that Fox News, and I'm not, this is an actual quote, I think from an article we read earlier. Guys in the chat, you know which one it was. We went through about a dozen articles so far. I can't remember which was which. But there was a quote talking about how Fox News made Donald Trump. That is a seriously screwed up miscalculation by the left. Fox News didn't make Donald Trump. Donald Trump made Donald Trump. That's why they can't break him. And that's one of the things Rush Limbaugh, brilliant man, recognized early on. And once again, he was dead on right. You can hate Rush all you want, but the man was sharp as a tack. He was able to recognize things that most other people couldn't see. And almost every single time, if you give life a long enough horizon, he was always borne out to be correct. Almost every single time. I've tried to model myself off the same thing. I can't promise you I know everything. I don't. I'm stupid. Look, I'm old enough and wise enough in my age to understand that there's, most of the things that happen in the world I don't get. I don't understand. But I'm smart enough to know that I don't know them, and I'm smart enough to understand that I can go learn. And everybody out there in the audience can go learn. They can go do this for themselves. You don't need to rely on people like me or Limbaugh or anything else. That was kind of one of the brilliant things that he did, was that he was able to teach people to think for themselves. And that's what scared the shit out of the left. That's what's scaring the shit out of the left here with this. It's not Donald Trump per se. They want to use Donald Trump as the boogeyman. They want to use Donald Trump as the face of this movement, this new era in America. And like I said earlier, if they're at the point now where they believe their own bullshit, then that's going to be their own problem, because that's not what's really happened. Donald Trump is a reflection of where America has moved. And the left doesn't get this. Donald Trump is a reflection of what has happened. Donald Trump is a reflection of the terrible things that Barack Obama, for example, perpetrated on this country. Destroying the health insurance sector. Taking people's $70 a month policy for a 25-year-old before Barack Obama and turning it into a $250 to $300 a month policy for the same thing. And I don't want to hear anybody out there arguing with me, because if you know who I am and you know what I do for a day job, not on YouTube, you know that I've been a financial planner for over 20 years. I've been an investment advisor, a stockbroker, and an insurance producer. I write health insurance plans for small businesses as part of my job, one of the things I do. So when I tell you that the Obamacare thing, the Affordable Care Act, was a massive failure, I know exactly what the hell I'm talking about, because I am quite literally a professional in the business. America got pissed off, and it gave us Trump. And I think, as many of our friends out there, like Cobra Cast, like our friend Jeremy Prime, D-Day Cobra, have pointed out, if we had not had the 2020 fraud, then we would not get this Trump 2.0 or this Trump Mark II that we've gotten now, where he went scorched earth the minute he got in the White House, recognizing that nobody in Washington is my friend. And if we're going to do this, basically everybody has to go. Now, Trump is facing his own problems right now. Part of this is a bit of a self-made, screw up. The whole Epstein thing. And I want to be clear. Do I think that Donald Trump has met Jeffrey Epstein and been at a party or several parties with him before? Yeah, I don't think anybody is denying that. I don't think even Trump has denied that ever. There's pictures of them together in the same room. It's a far cry from Trump being on the quote-unquote client list and having engaged in certain activity that I can't obviously say on YouTube because it would be a death sentence on here. Because I'm still of the mindset that, my God, for all the reasons that we've been discussing for the last 1 hour, that if there was any evidence anywhere of Donald Trump having engaged in some type of activity that would be a holy shit moment, I guarantee you that it would have come out in 2016 and in 2020 and in 2024. If you're going to sit here and tell me that the deep state and the Democrat Party, who is the deep state, could not have found a way to put that information out there while protecting the rest of the Democrats involved in that, if you're telling me that that couldn't have possibly happened, I'm telling you that you're crazy. And that's been a lot of the problem, right? Is that it's not I don't think, and this is my opinion, because I don't know. Nobody has seen these files. Nobody has seen anything. And I stated on the last show that I think a lot of the reason why I think what happened is because there were too many names on that list, not just Trump's. There were too many names involved, or not say on the list, but involved in the case, in the giant folder of evidence that involved Jeffrey Epstein. Damn it. Popped my light again. Sorry about that. The plug for this light is I need to get a new power strip. My foot keeps kicking it. It falls out too easy. I got to fix that. Drives me nuts. Trump's name is involved in the files. Okay, well, sure, because Epstein and Trump would have crossed paths probably on numerous occasions for the same reason that Donald Trump crossed paths with the Clintons frequently back in the day before he decided to run for office, all the way back into the 90s and the 80s. Like I said before, this whole thing was handled poorly. This is, and what's so frustrating with the Epstein situation, as I stated, I think on Sunday, is that this was not even remotely in the top 20, I don't even think, of issues that were on people's minds in the 2024 election. It's a stupid, self-inflicted gunshot wound. They could have said, hey, we would love to put the entire client list out there, but entire world governments will collapse. Entire state governments here in the U.S. will collapse. The chaos that it would cause would be untenable. The stock market would fall apart because of the leadership collapse or whatever. I'm being a bit hyperbolic, obviously, but I'm doing it for effect and for reason. They could have made these claims that would have been, frankly, quite believable. But instead, the Trump administration went with the Epstein list. It's bullshit. It didn't happen. It was another hoax. It was, oh, God. Just so bad. So bad. To take a whiff on an issue that wasn't even remotely critical to your electoral success is so beyond frustrating, because Donald Trump, and yes, I'm sorry if you don't like what I'm about to say, I'm going to compliment Pam Bondi. Sorry for what he and Pam Bondi have done and are trying to continue to do is such a stupid way to take a loss. As I stated Sunday, Trump is there and Pam Bondi is there to fight the lawfare aspect, to fight the government abuse, to fight the hard left Democrat liberal infestation that has completely screwed up Washington, D.C. for decades. She is not afraid to go after these people for that. I want her there. I want her to keep doing that. That is a far bigger issue. What I love to see every single human being that was involved in what clearly seems to be, again, I'm trying to be YouTube sensitive to not murder my channel. X, like Twitter X trafficking. You know what I'm saying, right? You know what I'm saying? Would I love to see all of these guys get made public and go to jail? Hell yes. Am I willing to let it go for Trump being able to do a much bigger picture of fixing in this country economically, fiscally, legislatively. Yeah, if I had to trade those two things out, I wouldn't think twice about it. It sucks. I'd love to have both. But the reality is, again, is Trump implicated in a crime in this file? I seem to kind of doubt it for the reasons I illustrated before. We would have already heard about this for the last 10 years. But do I think there's other names in there that they don't know how to handle? Do I also think that Trump is burying this right now because he is still in the middle of these massive international tariff negotiations with heads of foreign countries and heads of foreign states, many of whom may also be implicated on this list? And if his ace card is to say, we need you to do this, or this is going to come out, right? Political blackmail. In this case, I'm all for it. Now, I can't speak, obviously, with any certainty what Donald Trump as a man has or has not done in his personal life. I am sure he is not a perfect saint, as none of us are. I don't know whether or not he's engaged in criminal activity that some people have alleged of the sort that they have. I don't know. But I have enough of a gut instinct to think that if he had, we would have known by now, one way or another. And this whole thing about Jeffrey Epstein pleading the fifth, and let me see if I can find this. There was this alleged, well, actually, I don't even want to play it because I don't know if it's real or not. I can't verify the source. I haven't had time. But let's just say that there was a post of an interview video with Jeffrey Epstein that he was asked a question, do you know Donald Trump? Yes. Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump? Yes. And again, paraphrasing. Then there was a question asked, have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of girls under the age of 18 or something like that? Again, I have no idea the veracity of this because AI is so wicked these days. It may be totally true. But Jeffrey Epstein's response was, just under the advice of counsel, I refuse to answer under the Fifth Amendment. I don't incriminate, whatever. And people have immediately taken that as, oh, he was saying that to protect Trump. It's like, well, no. He could have just as easily been taking the fifth not to incriminate himself. The question was, has he ever socialized with girls under the age of 18 with Donald Trump around? So if he had said yes, it wasn't about incriminate. It would have been incriminating himself that he would have done it. But people took that as the end all be all. Again, tell me how, if Donald Trump, if there was any hard evidence that he had engaged in anything like this with Epstein. And again, I don't know if he did or not. I'm not Donald Trump. None of us are Donald Trump, right? What I'm saying is, please explain to me, because I've been watching politics for 30 years, how in the holy hell that if Trump was guilty of any of this, if there was any evidence, any real evidence to suggest that he was, regardless of whether or not Jeffrey Epstein admitted that he knew Trump and had been to parties with Trump. Shit, half of Wall Street, hell, all of Wall Street had probably been at a party at some point with Jeffrey Epstein. That doesn't mean they all did something very, very illegal with one of Jeffrey Epstein's victims Probably some did. Maybe many did, but not all. But if there was something in it that suggested or showed that Trump had engaged in those activities, I find it incredibly hard to believe that after 10 years that information would not have leaked out. Again, I've been through too much. I've seen too much with this type of stuff to sit here and just reflexively believe whatever horse shit that gets thrown in my face. I'm not saying the Wall Street Journal or the title of the article is horse shit per se. Because again, I'm sure that Trump's name, I've never said or I've never thought that Trump's name did not appear somewhere in that investigation. Because there's a ton of names in there. Probably every CEO in the last 30 years of the Fortune 500 probably has a name somewhere in that file, or at least during the relevant dates of when the investigation was being conducted. The question is there a hard list of, from Epstein of, hey, these are the guys that actually stooped a victim? There's probably something, there's some data somewhere. There's probably some black book somewhere. I don't believe one that, that necessarily doesn't exist. There's something there. Dan Bongino obviously rolled over on this one. Not rolled over. It's a wrong expression. Dan Bongino obviously got very pissed off with this to the point where he was going to resign from his position over this whole issue. I understand that. I have mad respect for him for that. Here's the other side of things, and I want to make this clear. There is this idea right now that this Epstein thing is going to tear MAGA apart. I've heard this story so many times over so many things, and it never seems to happen. And let me tell you why. First of all, MAGA was not made by Fox News. It was not made by anybody else. It was an organic thing that existed, and Donald Trump just embraced it. So Trump himself is not going to rip that apart. Now, what effect does this have long-term on the midterm elections of 2026? As of right now, honestly, probably nothing. I get it. There are people out there running polling data, and including our dear good brother, Mark Mitchell over at Rasmussen. We love Mark to death. Mark is a great friend. Smart as hell. He's doing his job. He's running polls, and he's showing right now that Republicans ought to be scared because right now Democrats are gaining ground. Right? Now, to be fair, that's not uncommon because midterm elections in a presidential cycle like this, to have the House flip over, okay? To have the House flip over and become Democrat with a Republican in the White House, or flip over to Republican in Congress if there was a Democrat in the White House, is actually pretty damn common. Actually really damn common. Now, the other part of this, too, is that what guys like Rasmussen, Mark Mitchell, our buddy out there, is showing you is that this is a snapshot of today, right now, July of 2025, not July of 26. And if you people out there are as smart as I know you are, okay, because this is one of the most brilliant audiences on YouTube. We've known this for years. You guys probably also know that people's political memories are incredibly short. What I've been trying to tell people now for the last couple of weeks with this is that even though as much as an absolute PR, and I do mean PR, public relations debacle, that the handling of this Epstein situation has been, the reality is is that we're like 18 months away, 17 months away, 16 months away from midterm elections. This situation is more than likely, based on all historical metrics, going back through politics for decades. This issue is going to be so long forgotten. I'll tell you right now, we do not even know what the driving force issues yet will be for midterms in 26. They haven't happened yet. Politically, they haven't happened yet. So for the people out there worried that this is going to destroy Trump, break MAGA and all this, as of right now, July 24th, 2025, there's nothing out there to suggest that's going to be the case. Now, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow morning. I don't know what's going to happen next week. I don't know what's going to happen 2 months from now, 6 months from now, or a year from now. Situations can change. But absent anything radically changing from where we are in the zeitgeist today, Thursday, July 24th, 2025, this is going to be a non-event. I hate to say it. Again, I'm just being honest. I'm giving you my honest perspective. That's what we do here. We call shit like we see it. I need to have a conversation with Mark. We need to get Mark on the show. We'll get Mark on the show. We need to do that. Yes, sir. MAGA is rock solid. Yes, overall it is. Do not believe some of the stories out there that you're hearing. Remember, I love the old adage. There are lies, damn lies, and statistics. And that was a joke largely made, especially about polling. Because it's largely bullshit. Yeah. Indeed. All right. I need a quick break here. Give me 1 second. Well, I tell you, we played. I want to play something different here. I've not played a drunk 3PO clip on the Renegade Nation channel. We are going to play a drunk 3PO clip here because I love Jay to death as much as I give him shit a lot. He's a friend. Wait. Oh, shoot. My screen just... Why is it refreshing like this? Here we go. Here's Jay.
Oh, great. Now Jay's begging for super chats. You know what? I don't want to hear it, Valiant. You know why? Because when Valiant super chats, he does it straight for clout. He gives $100 to Geeks and Gamers, sends $100 to FNT. You know what he does when he comes in my channel? Member message. But you know what? I appreciate him. I wish Valiant had more days in Florida because I loved hanging out. I love Valiant Renegade. The dude's a legend, man. I hope Valiant Renegade, he's such a great YouTuber and he's got the numbers. I hope he gets to 1 million subs. Valiant, what are you doing, man?
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
All right. Let's get on to our next few topics here. I want to grab, we got some super chats here stacked up. Snarky says for $5, Colbert's overindulgence in the cock-a-doodle-doo fire hose of woke white whipped cream. Whip. Why do you say it weird? Cool Whip. Say it again. Whip. Say whip. Whip. You're saying it wrong. I can't remember that segment. I'm trying to get it right. Family Guy jokes. Jay, for $10, I was working at a hospital when bummer care kicked in. My job went from a headache to a living nightmare. That was just one reason why I will never work in healthcare again. I understand, dude. I get it. Matt G for $5. Only way list comes out is if you had a third party in office and not in my Taylor Swift third party fantasy way. LOL. More like V for Vendetta. Well, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. What's always bothered me with the third party. I mean, like what Elon Musk was talking about. Like it or not, we can argue back and forth about how, the two-party system has failed. Democrats are absolute destructive garbage. Republicans are, they're a problem, just not as bad as Democrats, right? I could agree with all that kind of thing. The problem is you introduce a third party like what Musk is talking about, and it's going to overwhelmingly siphon from Republicans. And what you're going to wind up with is within 10 years, you'll have overwhelming socialist Democrat rule in this country, and we'll be completely fucked. It's just a reality. It's just math. I hate to say it. It is simple math. As much as I'd love to have a viable third party, the problem is that it's going to come at the expense of conservatives. Overwhelmingly come at the expense of conservatives. And that means that we are going to get hard rolled bad. Snarky says for 5, rest in peace, Hulk Hogan, Ozzy, and Malcolm. Trump will add up to far more positive than one mistake. His first term proved as much. Exactly, dude. That's just it. That's why I'm willing, as much as I hate it. It's like, look, I'd rather let this one go because I see the long game. I don't think it's justice to let this thing die in darkness. I don't think that it's good for the country in and of itself to let this thing die in darkness, or really, more importantly, the world. The reality is there is, unfortunately, and this is the hard part of making adult decisions, that in order to get this, what has to be given up to get there would be catastrophically devastating, I think. I think that's why this is happening. And I don't mean for Trump personally, because I genuinely don't think that Trump had any involvement the way the left thinks or wants to pretend he does. Because if he did, it would have already come out long ago. I think it's other players in the game. And yes, I'm sure that there are a lot of prominent Republicans that were involved in this. It would not surprise me one bit. What do you do? And not to mention leaders around. We know Prince Andrew of Great Britain was on this. I mean, look, what if, give you a hypothesis, what if they got a phone call from MI6, the UK, and saying, no, if you let this out, we'll make sure that this and that and the other thing come out about these people and this stuff and that stuff. The world stage is a very, very nasty place. Again, we could sit here all night and speculate as to what went on here. And it would do us no good. Now, may there eventually be some information that comes out? I certainly freaking hope so. But I'm not going to hold my breath. I did not vote. And I'm going to tell you right now, the overwhelming 90+% of people, I bet you, I guarantee you, who voted for Trump, the Epstein situation was not even on the radar. That's why this whole issue was so frustrating. They didn't need to do this. They did not need to trip over themselves on such a stupid, and I don't mean that flippantly, but such a stupid issue in terms of what got Trump in office, because it was a non sequitur. It was a non-issue. So politically frustrating. Again, from a mathematical perspective. That's it. That's it. That's it. All right. So we've covered those couple of things. The Colbert fallout. We've covered some of the DEI stuff. We talked about some of the stuff from The View earlier. I do. I should play this, shouldn't I? God, it's just, you know what? The View. Oh, the bitches on The View. Oh, I did have this queued on a different window. Let me just play this for the sake of the
Never have
clip.
to talk about him again.
Let me just play this. I played this on the main channel. I'll play this again here because it's just frankly too much fun. The absolute best montage of Stephen Colbert over the years.
Donald Trump has been sworn in as president of the United States. I know. Listen, we're just as confused as you are. Joe Biden did it. I sat down and just started crying with relief. And Evie said, you never have to talk about him again. And then I cried with joy. After a bizarre and vicious campaign fueled by a desperate need not to go to jail, Donald Trump has won the 2024 election. Next year will be our last season. The network will be ending The Late Show in May. Donald Trump has been sworn in as president of...
Oh, God, I love it. I can't get enough of that. That really is one of the best montages, I think, that could be out there. So, oh, good God. Good God almighty. All right, so one of the last topics that I wanted to cover here was the issue of William McNeil. Now, for those of you who may not be familiar, let me flip back over. I have too many Twitter windows open, and I had saved this on a bookmark. Let me go back here and grab this. This is something of a personal issue that's kind of near and dear to me. For those of you who may know, that have been watching me for a while, that have heard me talk about this, look. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a law enforcement officer, nor have I ever been. I have simply been a well-armed citizen with a concealed handgun permit for over half his life, 25, 26 years now. I've had to, as a responsible gun owner, I've had to learn and familiarize myself not only with firearm safety, with learning how to operate them correctly, tactically and otherwise, but also had to familiarize myself with simple things like law enforcement procedure and laws and things of that nature. So I'm going to speak to you on this matter from that perspective. But I can tell you that I've studied this quite a bit. I've watched, I don't know how many different body cam videos and things like that over the years. One of the things that I have come to recognize is that the worst thing that has ever happened to Black Lives Matter has been the truth, facts, evidence, and most importantly and specifically, police body cams. It has been absolutely the most devastating thing that has ever happened to the Black Lives Matter scam, which began, if y'all remember, with, I think, Michael Brown, Ferguson, Missouri, the whole hands up, don't shoot fraud that was an absolute fraud. Never happened. There was no hands up, don't shoot. Michael Brown was a giant 6'3" 6'3", something like that, 250, 300-pound behemoth that robbed a convenience store. And then when I think it was the officer's name was Darren Wilson, got a communication over the radio. This is the guy that just did this. He looks like this. He's dressed in these clothes, drove up, found Michael Brown, approached him in his car, and then Michael Brown tried to murder a police officer in cold blood to get away. All of the evidence showed that unequivocally in court. But we were told that Michael Brown was an innocent, simple black kid that was looking forward to going to college, who got murdered by a racist white police officer, blah, 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 blah. He put his hands up. He said, please don't shoot me. None of that happened. It was all lies. 100% total fucking lies. We had riots over it. The country tore itself apart over it, all based on a complete media lie. All the legacy media lied about it. The NFL, the NBA, the MLB. I mean, every freaking sports league got out there with doing their Black Lives Matter stuff and blah, 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 blah. Police are racist, defund the police, all this kind of shit. All a bunch of absolute radical left-wing Marxist deception to tear the country apart. The problem with it is that even though all of us now, or most of us out there in the country, have become wise enough to recognize that we have been gaslit, that we have been absolutely lied to, demonstrably lied to, there are still individuals out there who want to try to get their 15 minutes of fame and gaslight the country and still try to play this game that there is, quote unquote, a structural racism or institutionalized racism in law enforcement departments, which of course, by every bit of evidence I've ever seen or am knowledgeable of, is complete bullshit. What we've come to find out is that, if people would just follow the law, if people would just comply with police officers when it comes to the lawful exercise of their lawful duties, then most of the times bad things wouldn't happen. But that's not where we are still. And that is the case of William McNeil. And William McNeil had, some days ago, let me pull up the bookmarks here, had, of course, tried to fake everybody out with a video that he very selectively edited to show a police officer punching in his window and dragging him out of his car and, cops are racist. Here's just another day of cops being racist, right? So let me pull this up. Let me make sure I got the right window here for this one. Yeah. Here we go. This is the guy I'm talking about. Let me go off to the side again here just so I make sure I'm out of the way. Here we go.
Can you call your supervisor? Can you call your supervisor? All right,
So, again, this is basically where he started the video. Just saying, can you call your supervisor? Can you call your supervisor? The claim was a bunch of racist white police officers just drove up on him. His crime, even according to his legal counsel, some old black attorney, actually came out and made the claim this week his crime was driving while being black. Like, we're actually still doing this bullshit. Like, this is 2025. America is not buying this trash anymore. Nobody with 2 brain cells to rub together is buying this trash anymore, okay? But this kid in this video decided to roll the dice on this one, right? So he starts his video off in the middle of the encounter with no context. And a lot of people out there who saw this video reflexively, oh, this looks bad. Oh, this looks awful. I'm sorry, I've seen too many of these, and I'm talking hundreds, if not thousands of these kind of videos. And I'm not even joking about that number because, again, I'm a student of this out of pure personal interest. I've had a concealed handgun permit. I've been pulled over by police as a white man probably at least a dozen times or more in my life for speeding, for this, for insurance checks, for the other. I mean, I had a tail light out. I had a headlight out. My headlights weren't even turned on one time because I had daytime running lamps and it was raining and it was almost night and I had just enough light in front of me. I thought they were on, but they weren't. I got pulled over. I never once jumped out of a car and started barking at a police officer, you know, about what the hell are you doing? Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. What did I do? Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Oh, you need my license and registration? Here you go. Well, this guy is trying to make the claim that he was just stopped for being black. Right? That's what his legal counsel is trying to do. Yeah, this doesn't work out too damn well.
Can you call your supervisor? Huh? Can you call your supervisor? All right, go for it. Yes, sir.
Is there a reason why you're popping the door open like that?
I don't have a window.
So this video, it kind of cuts off. They pop the window. They pull him out of the car. So this is the response to it, right? This is the police officer showing, okay, now here's our body cam footage of what actually happened.
Is there a reason why you're popping the door open like that?
I don't have a window that works. Is there a reason that you're pulling me over?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a reason why I'm pulling you over. For one thing, inclement weather, you don't have your lights on. 2 things, you're not wearing your seatbelt.
It's daylight. 3, I don't need the lights. And it's not weather. It's not raining.
Oh, this is inclement?
It's not raining.
Okay, I'm not arguing with you. I'm telling you why I'm pulling you over. Give me your driver's license, registration, proof of insurance.
No.
So the officer has come up, right? This is the officer's body cam footage. He's approached the vehicle. He's pulled him over, all right? He said, hey, just, you know, this guy just immediately pops his door open and starts arguing with the cop. That immediately would put a police officer on high alert. High alert, like, oh, okay, well, hold on. All they did was pull you over. I haven't said anything yet. You're already popping the door open, you know, and not a good idea. So that already puts the police officer on alert, like, okay, this guy is showing signs of aggression. Not a good thing. And the officer has already stated, your headlights weren't on. We have inclement weather. It's cloudy. It's raining. There are raindrops all over the vehicle. You'll see in a moment.
Call your supervisor. Why?
Excuse me?
Call your supervisor.
He immediately goes for this call your supervisor stuff. I honestly don't know where in the holy hell this came from. Like, what is it? What happened in society that people think, and quite frankly, a lot of young black men and women, and if you watch body cam videos, you know what I'm talking about. It's very, very jaded in one direction, demographically here, that go for this. I'm not doing anything. Call your supervisor. Like, they think that, like, people think that they're, and white people do it too. Sometimes they think that they have a right to tell an officer that they don't have to do anything. They don't have to comply with lawful commands unless and until they call a supervisor out. I don't even know where this started, but it's the most retarded ass thing ever. It has nothing to do with law, as far as I am aware of. This police officer is conducting a lawful traffic stop for lawful reasons. This police officer has a right to ask you for your driver's license and your registration. I want to remind everybody out there watching that while you have a right to travel constitutionally, right? You have a right to travel, go from state to state and all this. The minute that you get behind the wheel of a motorized vehicle, you need a driver's license, right? You can travel freely by plane, by train, by bus. You can ride as a passenger in another person's car. You can get a horse and buggy for all I care. But the minute you get behind the wheel of a car to operate a motorized vehicle, that is a privilege that you need to have a driver's license for. That's going to come into play later as we find out in this. You need to have a driver's license. And when you get a driver's license, you are signing on the dotted line to receive the privilege of operating a motor vehicle. You're signing and agreeing to the fact that you're going to obey traffic laws. And those driver's licenses have reciprocity from one state to the other 49 and vice versa. Right? So this idea that some idiots out there have that if you get pulled over for a lawful reason, whether you think it's justified or not, what you mean my headlights weren't on? Well, in this state, it's a law that you have to have daytime running headlamps if it's raining or cloudy. You may not like the law, but it's the law, and the reason for getting pulled over under those circumstances is, ergo, lawful. So you have to provide your driver's license, your proof of insurance or whatever, your registration, whatnot. This idea that you can just tell a police officer, no. Stupid. Here's what happens.
Step out of the vehicle. No. Step out of the vehicle. 25 seconds for 9-4.
Step out of the vehicle. He's already asked him multiple times for his driver's license, his registration, all this kind of stuff. He says, please step out of the vehicle. Okay? He's already immediate. Look at the raindrops on the car, by the way, because he tries to argue in his own video that it's not raining. It's not raining. You're full of shit. You're pulling me over illegally. Blah, 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 blah. No. That's not true. You can see it on the car right now. It's in evidence. And he slams his door shut. Again, failing to comply with a lawful command of a police officer, please step out of your vehicle. It's a traffic stop. It's an investigation. A cop can ask you to step out of the car. He refused to do it. He slammed the door shut. At this point, the police officer doesn't know what he has inside the car. He could have a knife. He did. He could have a gun. He could have anything else. He could have marijuana in his pocket. He did. He could have all kind of stuff. So a police officer right now in this trap, this is where a lot of police officers, frankly, wind up getting killed in situations like this. When you have very, very vociferous, non-compliant drivers of vehicles like this. So this police officer's already on a heightened sense of alert because of this ridiculous level of non-compliance. Again, this is one of those things where he probably would have just said, hey, your lights aren't on. Let me get your driver's license and registration because that's normal procedure. Let me just run them. They have a right to do that. They can look at your license plate. They can drive down the parking lane of a Target or a Walmart and check everybody's license plate in the parking lot to find out who's got a suspended license or doesn't have an updated registration. It's legal. This guy probably would have been sent on his way. And the cop would have just said, hey, your lights weren't on. But he immediately came out and started fighting with the police officer.
The driver just slammed the door and locked it. I've already told you. Right now you're under arrest for resisting. Sir, this is your last warning to open the vehicle and exit before we're going to break the window. Open the door and exit or we are going to break the window. Open the door and exit or we are going to break the window. Open the door and exit. You are under arrest for resisting. Open the door and exit. You are under arrest for resisting. Open the door and exit. You are under arrest for resisting. Open the door and exit. You are under arrest for resisting.
7 times. 7 times. And that's 7 times that the police officer told him, commanded him to open the door, or you're going to be under arrest for resisting. He's not making this up. That is according to state law in Florida. And frankly, I think every other state in the union. And that's in addition to the multiple times the police officer pulling this dickhead retard over before we got to this point and telling him, I stopped you because you didn't have headlights running, and whatever else. It doesn't matter. Whatever. I mean, that's it. That is an offense that you can pull somebody over for. In most states now, you can pull somebody. Oh, the other one was seatbelt. You can pull somebody over for not wearing a seatbelt. If you drive by a police officer and they see you going down the road and they observe you're not wearing a seatbelt, they can pull you over. It doesn't matter if you think it's a poor excuse or not. It is lawful. And this person decided that he didn't want to comply with lawful commands. Well, guess what happens?
I'm about to break a window.
All right, go for it.
Now, look at all the other police officers showing up. You know why they're there? Because they don't know why this guy is being so resistant to complying with lawful commands. And a police officer's natural and frankly righteous instinct is to think that this motherfucker is up to no good. Again, an old white dude, have been pulled over probably at least a dozen times since I was in my 20s. Not one time did I ever go jumping out of the car going, what are you doing? Why are you pulling me over? Blah, blah, blah. You know why? Because I knew better. Because I had a functional brain. And I understood it's like, okay, they're pulling me over for something. Why would I get into an argument with a police officer on the side of the road? If the police officer is actually committing an unlawful act, or the police officer is mistaken about something, I'll go have that conversation with a judge in court. That's where you have the argument, not on the side of the fucking road. And especially not raising your voice and acting like a moron. Now, I did get pulled over one time because a police officer pulled me over. I stopped. He came up to the window. I was very calm. And he said, I got you doing 45 in a school zone that was 25. And I said, no. I said, actually, I had my cruise control on. And as soon as I hit the exit sign where the school zone ended, I accelerated up. I said, I think you were weighed, and I'm literally talking to the police officer just like I'm telling you this now. And I said, where you're positioned, I don't know if you can see it. He's like, do you know where the school zone ends? I said, yeah, it's right down there at the corner of that street and that street. That's where I took off and went back up to 45. And he let it go. But we had a calm conversation. I didn't jump out of the car. I didn't scream at the officer and call him, stupid or this or that or blah, blah, blah. We had a rational conversation. Now, if it hadn't worked and he'd still wanted to give me a ticket, I would have accepted the ticket. I would have signed for it. And then I would have gone to court. And then I would have said, look, I got a dash cam that's got GPS information on it. And it would have been dismissed. But this idea of fighting with cops on the side of the road because, you're a black victim or whatever stupid-ass short bus mindset you have. No, you are the impetus for your own problems. And I hate to say this, but I'm going to say it. There is too much of the, I don't want to say the black community, because it's not. Look, there are countless amazing YouTube channels out there. go check out the Officer Tatum. In fact, I'm going to pull up a video of his in a bit. And a lot of other folks out there, the Black conservative and all this, they cover these kind of videos. They are so sick of this kind of behavior from other, especially younger Black Americans out there that behave like this because they've been trained to think, thanks to the media, thanks to society, that police are racist, that police just want to find any excuse they can to shoot a young Black man. It's clinically retarded. It's stupid. And the problem is that America has been subjected to so many of these bullshit TikTok videos that are highly selectively edited. Nowadays, in 2025, they get almost instantly debunked thanks to, thank God, body cam videos from police officers. And that's why I say that body cams are the worst thing that ever happened to Black Lives Matter.
Exit the vehicle now!
So this is where they smashed the window. There's a palm strike you can't see on the body cam to the face. That's what made it into the video, and I'll play another one here in a minute from inside the car. Police have the ability to make an assessment on the scene of use of force based on the situation. And unfortunately for this gentleman who tried to run a scam, the district attorney in Florida, the state of Florida, found no cause for criminal charges against the police officer who did it. Oops.
The vehicle. What is your reason?
He said, what is your reason? What is your reason? What is your reason? You got to understand, he is saying that right now. He's putting on that show for his own personal cell phone video that he released over last weekend that was very deceptive. He's been told a dozen times why he was pulled over and why he was ordered to step out of the car. About a dozen times. America is sick of this behavior. Sick of it. Completely sick of it.
Don't put your hands up.
They don't know if he has a knife on him, a gun on him, whatever. All they know is up to this point that this dude has been completely and inexplicably non-compliant with lawful orders for a lawful traffic stop for no reason that they can decipher. So naturally, the police officers think there's something really wrong here. And they're going to subdue and detain him until they can figure out what's going on. All of this could have been avoided if retard here on the ground with the dreadlocks and the red t-shirt had simply done what the officer said and not started off the conversation by fighting with him. He put himself in this position, but in his mind and in the racist black left's mind, this is all about evil white police officers.
Hands behind your back. You gonna throw my phone like that, bro? Yeah, I'm gonna take it off of you, bro. Marijuana in his right pocket. Yes, it is. So I didn't do nothing.
Mind you, there are 2 black police officers on the scene right here.
Listen, idiot. I didn't do nothing.
Yeah, I didn't do nothing. The famous cry of the I didn't do nothing. Didn't do nothing. Yeah, we just saw what you did. Again, all of it was for show. And people actually in 2025, this is what's so depressing. People in 2025 actually believed this shit. They believed his version of the video. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. And again, I specifically selected this for a good reason. CBS News. You want to know why Skydance is coming into play? Let me show you. Let me show you why they are tired of this. CBS News 24/7 Live regarding the William McNeil situation. Let's get into it. Watch this.
And we want to warn our viewers right now that the video you are about to see is disturbing. Newly released video of a man being arrested during a traffic stop in Jacksonville, Florida in February has prompted an investigation into the use of force used by police during the stop. Now, in the video, you can see William McNeil Jr. being hit in the face and dragged to the ground by officers. In the arrest report, one of the officers said McNeil was pulled over for not having his headlights on in rainy weather. Now, this morning, McNeil Jr. spoke out.
That day, I just really wanted to know, why I was getting pulled over and why I needed to step out the car when I know I didn't do nothing wrong. I was really just scared. And that's it.
Oh, God. Oh, no. I didn't know. I was so scared. I was so scared. Let me tell you what. Look at this dude's demeanor right now during this completely fake-ass bullshit press conference. I'm sorry. I'm so tired of the lies and the gaslighting and the bullshit.
To know, why I was getting pulled over and why I needed to step out the car.
Look at how soft-spoken he is now. Look at how calm his demeanor is, playing the victim. This man has been trained. He has been schooled, probably by his piece of shit attorney right next to him, to act this way in front of the camera, when even his own video clearly showed his stoic indifference to the situation, his absolute, lack of mental acuity in the situation, right? They even had him put his hair up for this one. I can imagine his attorney having a conversation. We're going to go in front of a bunch of white people. We don't want you to have like long dreadlocks down your shoulders. Could you put it up in a bun? I swear to God, I'm not kidding you. This is the kind of bullshit that they would have, the kind of conversation they would have. Absolutely, they would have. Okay, if Marcus Squintus is still in the chat as a law enforcement officer, he's probably laughing his nuts off as I'm saying all this stuff because he probably knows I can't promise everything I'm saying is true, but I bet most of it is. So, look, okay, he's still out there. Good. Marcus, am I off base here? Y'all, you know what I'm talking about. Like, this attorney has deliberately tried to make this guy look, and look, I think he even had him wear, a red shirt again, like the red shirt he was wearing in the video to make the connection, but they had him change his hair and all this. He's very soft-spoken. He was not soft-spoken with the cops. He argued with them the whole time. He was the aggressor. This man right here, William McNeil, was the aggressor in the traffic stop. All he had to do was comply. The problem, of course, was that as we found out after the black sheriff from Florida, from this county in Florida, came out, the black chief of police came out and talked, William McNeil had a suspended driver's license. He had marijuana on him and an unsheathed serrated knife on the floor of the car at his feet. So, oh, God. America is sick of idiots like this playing the victim when they are clearly the aggressors. And police body cams are tearing this stupid ass retarded movement apart, limb from limb. And I am here for it. I am absolutely here for it.
You know why I was getting pulled over, and
I didn't know why I was getting pulled over, except the police officer told you at least 3 or 4 times.
Why I needed to step out the car.
I didn't know why I needed to step out of the car, because you were given a lawful command by a law enforcement officer to do so. You can't sit there driving a car under a suspended license and claim to be retarded on facts.
When I know I didn't do nothing wrong.
I know I didn't do nothing wrong. I didn't do nothing. Didn't do nothing. It's always I didn't do nothing. No, you did a lot of shit. You did a lot of shit wrong.
I was really just scared.
I'm really just scared. I'm so scared. Does he sound anything like he did in his own video? No, he doesn't. He sounds nothing like he did in his own video. In his own video, he was obstinate. He was openly defiant of the police. And he was very boisterous about it. He put on a whole show, acting, doing all this sarcasm in the car. The police were smashing his window, and he's like, not me, not me. Look at his demeanor now. This is all fake. This is as fake as his video.
Yeah, that's it.
Watch this.
I want to bring in CBS.
Watch this, CBS. This is what David Ellison and Skydance is about to remove.
News correspondent Elaine Keano, who was following this press conference from Jacksonville earlier. Elaine, thank you so much for joining us on 24/7 today. Break down the claims from William McNeil Jr. and his attorney about the stop and what police are saying.
Well, you heard Mugo, William McNeil Jr. saying there that he was scared during that stop back in February. He said that he wanted to know why he was being pulled over. And you can hear him actually on video asking that very question.
By the way,
and that's why he wanted to wait for a supervisor before getting out of the.
By the way, just this reporter, I'm sorry, fire this correspondent. She's a hot mess. I'm sorry. This is CBS News 24/7. And I mean, whether she's put on there if she's a local reporter or not, she can barely talk and string a couple of sentences together. Why are we hiring people to be news correspondents anywhere that are sheepish, mud-mouthed people like this? Did we not have anybody that can get a sentence out coherently? It gets worse. It gets worse. But look, I want to show people this. This is what I was talking about here. Again, this is his own cell phone video. I'm going to mute it for a second so you can hear this. So you can see here, the window gets smashed. That's where he basically started his cell phone video. We know, based on the police body cam video, he actually started recording a couple of minutes before that. He cut all that out and posted the video on his social media right at the moment when the cop smashed the window to make everybody think, here's another black man getting victimized. The whole thing was a lie. The whole thing was a scam. Now, the question is, bang, right there. Not a punch. He didn't get punched in the face. That was an open-handed palm strike. That is very different than a closed fist knuckle to the face punch. The palm strike, and again, it goes back to law enforcement here, where in this situation, when you have a repeatedly, consistently, very questionably non-compliant subject in this case, who was pulled over for a simple reason: you didn't have your headlights on. And this individual turned it in to a nightmare situation because he's either an idiot or he's racist against white cops or something. Again, police officers naturally are going to react to this as something's really wrong here. So a police officer decided, after smashing the window, after repeated a dozen attempts to get compliance from this guy on a simple matter, who refused, to give him a palm strike. Police officers under the law are afforded some latitude for the use of physical force in this kind of situation. And apparently the district attorney, watching this video and watching the body cam footage, found no cause to file criminal charges against the police officer for that use of discretionary physical force. But here's CBS.
Why he wanted to wait for a supervisor before getting out of the vehicle. Well, he and his attorneys argue that immediately and unnecessarily.
He wanted to wait for a supervisor. Again, there's no implied right for you to be able to disobey law enforcement orders, lawful orders, to wait for a supervisor.
The law enforcement officers on the scene escalated the situation very quickly, as you see in that video, when one of them punched through the glass on the driver's side window there and shattered it, and then punched McNeil himself.
According to his dipshit, ambulance-chasing, race-baiting, race-hustling piece of crap attorney.
In the face. Now, the attorneys say that he suffered a concussion, a chipped tooth, needed 9 stitches after.
Can anybody see he didn't have 9 stitches from where? From where? From that palm strike? Bullshit. His face wasn't cut.
That altercation. But the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office says that the footage itself does not tell the whole story. McNeil was asked 7 times to exit the vehicle, but he did not. The sheriff, T.K. Waters, says that the reality.
This poor woman is just reading off of a 3x5 index card. Like, can we get better reporters out there today than this? CBS somewhere. Can you please fix this? This is painful to watch.
Is that all force, all violence is ugly, and just because force is ugly does not mean it is unlawful or contrary to policy. Mugo?
Still very, very hard just watching that video there, Elaine, as you were speaking. What comes next in this case?
I feel like these two people on this news station are struggling to figure out what to do with this.
So it's important to note that William McNeil Jr. later pled guilty to resisting arrest without violence and driving on a suspended driver's license. However, his attorneys made it a point today to say that at the time of that plea, they believe William McNeil Jr. was concussed. And so they want to highlight that as.
So he pled guilty to what he was clearly doing on video. He pled guilty to a suspended license, which there's really not an argument for, right? Your license is either suspended or it isn't. And certainly the local law enforcement would have that information on file. The Department of Motor Vehicles has you listed as suspended. Oh, he only pled guilty to that because he was concussed. He got palm struck in the face. He immediately sprung back up and sat there. No, give me a break. Give me a break. Give me a break. Again, all of this was entirely precipitated by the fact that this idiot decided not to comply with lawful orders from law enforcement because white people bad.
Something that should be noted moving forward here, that because they suggest he was suffering from that concussion, that is something that needed to be taken into account as that plea was being entered. Now, the officer involved in this is on administrative leave pending an internal investigation. The state,
which is normal. Any officer involved in a situation like this typically would get put on administrative leave. which is code language for paid vacation. A lot of times. So yeah. Let me tell you what right now. This is going to wind up going nowhere. Yeah. But the point is that a lot of people out there, when they saw the initial video of this, when they saw the video that this ass clown posted, okay, they were very, very quick to register it as police brutality, police racism, blah, blah, blah. Turned out not to be the case. And the point is that DEI is dying right now. Black Lives Matter is dead already, in my opinion. We're still going to have stuff like this, right? And again, and I'm trying to put this in perspective of this is all politically charged. DEI is politically charged. Black Lives Matter is politically charged. And it's also a money laundering operation, of course, as we all know by now. Don't fall for it. We're going to get more and more and more and more of this as time goes on. I feel like we're seeing kind of like the last gasps of DEI, the last gasps of the Black Lives Matter movement. People are fed up with this, and at this point, I would just suggest to folks out there watching right now that when you see these kind of videos promulgated online, unless it is an official police body cam video or something in its entirety, reflexively reject it, because almost certainly at this point in 2025, it's a lie or it's a deception. Just as William McNeil's iPhone video was a deliberately, selectively edited deception. This man put himself in the position that he did. He was ripped out of his car. He had his window broken and was ripped out of his car because this man right here, William McNeil, made stupid choices. And he obviously did it. It was found out after the fact. He thought fighting with the police officer, verbally fighting, arguing with the police officer was the best thing to do because he knew he was behind the wheel of a motor vehicle without a driver's license. And now he wants to play the victim. Go fuck yourself, in the words of Stephen Colbert. You're an idiot. You deserve what you get. All right. I want to thank y'all for showing up tonight. We're going to grab some super chats. If y'all got some super chats y'all want to send in, anything you want me to address, now is the time to do it. Marcus Quintus for $5. The only way a third party is viable is if there is an equally viable fourth party for the Democrats. I agree. Totally agree. That's exactly right, my dude. Marcus for $5, I would have told that driver, sure, I'll call my supervisor. And I'll also raise you one cranky canine officer that hasn't gotten a bite in 3 months. The problem, God forbid, can you imagine if they'd actually had the canine on that traffic stop to begin with? Because the dog would have sniffed the weed that was in the guy's pocket that they found after they pulled him out of the car. You can't drive. I mean, there are some states, obviously, where it's legal to have marijuana. In a lot of cases, if you have a prescription, but in no states that I'm aware of are you allowed to operate a motor vehicle under the influence of marijuana. Just the same as I can't go get in a car after, having 4 glasses of bourbon, right? Snarky Distinct Nugget for $5. Information ready and out the window with visible hands and honesty. Yeah, you don't even have to do that. I mean, just, you get stopped, pull over, chill out, roll your window down all the way. The cop will walk up and go, Hi, this is Officer so-and-so. I pulled you over because blah, 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 blah. Can I see your driver's license and registration and proof of insurance? Sure. Here. That's it. In my case, I'll be like, when the officer walks up and he asks me, can I have this, that, and the other thing? I'm like, sure thing. Just to let you know, I am armed. I have a loaded firearm right here next to me. Just blah, blah, blah. Here's my concealed handgun permit, if that helps. And a lot of times, I'll be honest with you, you don't have to have a concealed handgun permit in Louisiana and many states anymore. But I will say that probably of the dozen or so times I've been pulled over for speeding or whatever the infraction was, more often than not, probably 90% of the time plus, producing the concealed handgun permit got me sent on my way. Because they don't, in those days, they didn't just hand those things out willy-nilly. So a police officer would look at it and go, okay, they'd still run my driver's license, obviously. They'd still run my registration to make sure the vehicle wasn't stolen and that I wasn't, I didn't have outstanding warrants for my arrest or anything like that. But they would usually come back and go, hey, look, man, just slow down, blah, blah, blah. And I'd be on my way. Police officers will show you respect. Show them respect back. The problem is that in an unfortunately too significant amount of the black community, that there is this inbred disdain, hatred, distrust, fear of police officers. And unfortunately, the reality is that especially in the last 15 years, 20 years, a lot of that is just made up shit thanks to social media and bad journalism and bad Hollywood and bad news media. And I'll tell you right now, to be perfectly honest, Democrats and their media apparatus, their Hollywood apparatus, honestly, are putting young black men at more risk than they should be, because they are the ones overwhelmingly that have trained them to distrust police officers through a bunch of gaslighting bullshit. Every one of these situations that I keep seeing, almost, with extraordinarily rare exception, like probably less than 1% of the time, every one of these situations where something bad has happened has been because somebody, be they white, black, Hispanic, Asian, male, female, whatever, every one of the bad situations that actually happened has typically happened because they decided to mouth off to a police officer. They decided to not comply with lawful commands. In other words, they decided to present themselves during a lawful, routine, usually simple encounter, like a traffic stop, with police officers as a threat, to where a police officer had to go to level 10 and put them in handcuffs because they were acting like a fool. Instead of just, here's my driver's license. Here's this. The place to argue whether or not a traffic stop or a ticket or even an arrest was right or wrong is not fighting physically or verbally with the police officer. It's in court with the judge. And too many people have forgotten that. And they put themselves in stupid-ass positions. Snarky says, for 5, it's very easy to be civil, respectful, listen, and prepared. Police will respect you for it. Absolutely. Marcus, for 2, attorney probably thinks he is the next John Lewis. Tennessee tornado for 10, completely off topic. Have you experienced the Lemon Fresh street cleaning on Bourbon Street. Oh, many years ago when Sidney Torres was still doing it. Apparently, locals love it and the government wants to end it. Can't have nice things. Wait, is the lemon sent back? I didn't realize that. That was a thing like 10 years ago. I thought that they had canceled it because the city didn't want to pay for it anymore and it went back to smelling like urine. I might have to look that up, Tennessee. I didn't know they went back to doing that. Snarky says, for two, accurate and appreciated. And we love you. Thank you, Snarky. Appreciate it. All right, I got to get out of here. I'm exhausted. I'm absolutely exhausted. It's been a long, very, very trying, mentally week. I'm whooped, guys. I'm whooped. But I had fun tonight, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. We had a great show on the main channel. I had a great show here on Renegade Nation. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you all. We'll be back very soon. I might do another show Sunday night. I might get into the habit of doing the 2 nights where, we do Valiant and then we Nation back to back. I think that might burn me out quickly. I'm going to figure this one out one way or the other. So give me some time. But thank you all. And thank you for the support. You guys are outstanding. We love you. We appreciate you. Have a good night. God bless. We'll see you the next